Man, oh man, I have some great news for patients in Washington, you guys, because medical cannabis users get a break from the nation's highest pot taxes thanks to a new state law. Washingtonians with a medical cannabis card can get a break from the nation's highest tax on the drug. The change, which took effect on Thursday, could nudge more people to get medical cards and potentially depress revenues from the cannabis tax, which generated nearly $470 million in fiscal year 2023. While the state is developing formal rules, a trade group representing cannabis businesses in Washington says the state needs to act faster to help them adapt to the new law and prevent the tax exemption from bolstering the illicit market for cannabis, they say, you guys. As of December 21st, states including Washington taxed adult use cannabis according to the Tax Foundation. Most of these states levy an excise tax as a percentage of the retail price, as Washington does. Washington has a 37% tax rate to top in the nation, while neighboring Oregon taxes cannabis at a rate of 17%. It's unclear how much state cannabis taxes could decrease under the new law, but if assuming there's a demand for medical products and the supply meets the demand, the fiscal analysis predict a significant negative impact, you guys. To receive the tax exemption, the buyer must be a registered patient in the Department of Health's medical cannabis authorization database, and the exemption only applies to products that comply with the Department of Health standards, including testing for heavy metals, prohibited pesticides, and further, only those retailers who have a medical cannabis endorsement can provide the tax break. There are more than 500 licensed cannabis stores in Washington, according to the Liquor and Cannabis Board. Julie Graham, a spokesperson for Washington's Liquor and Cannabis Board, said that the board doesn't expect the new exemption will have a, in quotes, a significant impact on the overall cannabis market. In the state, most consumers will continue to buy cannabis produced for the adult use market, and Graham said, but it is important that we fulfill the goals of the medical program too, and we will watch to see if this tax exemption helps increase availability and demand for medically compliant cannabis. A spokesperson for the state's Department of Health said it was difficult to speculate about how many new medical cannabis cards might be issued, and while interest in getting a card may increase, the standards for getting a card will remain the same. Washington residents diagnosed with one of the fairly narrow list of qualifying conditions, including cancer, epilepsy, and multiple sclerosis, must get a medical cannabis authorization form from their health care provider in order to get a card in the first place. In a quote, the DOH which is Department of Health, is working on a number of publications for cannabis patients, retailers, and producers to help them understand the new law and how to navigate the changes, said spokesperson Frank Amaduri. The number of medical cannabis card holders has been on the decline in recent years, and there were about 12,000 in 2022 compared with about 20,600 back in 2017. Before Washington legalized adult use cannabis in 2012, the state was flooded with quasi-legal dispensaries that sold to patients with medical marijuana authorization cards, and the definition of an authorized patient at the time was far more loosely regulated than after the passage of the legalization measure, Initiative 502. The Washington Cannabis Business Association, a trade association, has expressed concern that the new law is going into effect with little formal guidance from legal businesses. The lack of official rules from the state has created a precarious position for the regulated marketplace, said Aaron Pickus, a spokesperson for the association. They say you must be 21 or older to purchase cannabis from a licensed retail shop, but you only need to be 18 to get a medical card. Patients under 18 must have a parent or legal guardian designated as a provider. And in a quote, our goal is that the integrity of the law is protected so that this new significant financial incentive isn't used as a way to turn back the clock with medical cards available for everyone, including those under 21, and allow for a new toehold for the illicit marketplace, Pickus said. Pickus says that while the LCB has worked to provide more clarity on what retailers must do, there aren't formal rules in place yet, and that matters to businesses because if a customer didn't pay the excise tax when they should have, the retailer is liable for that tax. There is also a lack of clarity around whether producers and processors need to update their packaging, he said. And last month, in response to questions and requests for more information, the agency listed information that retailers should track and maintain when selling medical products to people eligible for the tax break, including the date and price of the sale, as well as the patient's authorization card number. The agency's rulemaking process is scheduled to take place over the summer months, but the rules won't take effect until September at the earliest, they say, according to the guidance issued by the agency back on May 29th. The new tax break applies only to medically compliant products, and a store with a medical cannabis endorsement must have a medical consultant on staff and be able to register patients in the state Department of Health database. The Department of Health says it is the responsibility of the medical cannabis consultant to verify the authenticity of the provider's authorization form and will be issuing a resource guide for retailers and consultants on how to help them verify that a form is authentic, they say. If any part of the form is incomplete or the form appears invalid, DOH said the consultant should tell the patient or designated provider to go back to the medical professional and basically get it fixed. The tax exemption is scheduled to expire in about 5 years in June of 2029, and medical card holders can already get an exemption from the state's retail sales tax. Well, I feel like this is going to be a big win for all of the patients up in Washington, all these Washingtonians. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. And this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News Hour. What do y'all have to say?
It's a fair deal.
It's a good deal, right? I have a feeling that they're not going to experience that much of a tax decrease, though, because it sounds to me like there's a lot of hurdles for patients to have to go through just to identify themselves to qualify for this tax break, which is going to disenfranchise a lot of people from taking advantage of it, in my opinion.
If you're a big consumer, though, man, it's 37%. It's a lot.
Yes.
I think it also, oops, I'm probably on mute.
No, go ahead. You're good, Jamie. Go ahead.
I think it's also, am I on mute?
No, we hear you.
Okay.
We hear you.
Sorry. I think it's a business opportunity. I think you could actually jump into that market and start advertising that you'll assist people to go through the process and, guide some traffic into the dispensaries that are providing those products.
You know what, Jamie? You might be right. That'd be a good job for some of these consultants that aren't working right now to start a little side hustle up.
Business ideas and shit.
I like that, Jamie. A little entrepreneurialness going on this Monday.
Can't help it.
I love it.
Everything's got an angle.
That's right.
When you come into this business, you got to have that mindset.
You definitely right. You definitely got to have an angle. That's for sure, Jamie.
37% leaves some margin to be there.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
So, I mean, right, we have to point out what the article already pointed out, which is that they have the highest taxes of any cannabis taxes of any state in the nation. And while it's great that they are coming up with a vehicle for tax relief for medical patients that are narrowly defined, it is not great that they are nibbling around the edges of the proverbial edible when it comes to actually dealing with having the highest state taxes of any program in the nation, right? Like, that's still a problem that they haven't solved for. And when it says that last year they earned $500 million in state cannabis tax revenue, $500 million is a lot of money, and you think there might be a little room to reduce that more evenly. What I thought was challenging was that the spokesperson for the Washington Cannabis Business Association expressed concern, and I just have to say shame on you guys. A, because I want to talk a little shit on a Monday, and B, because anytime a trade organization is against tax reform, I don't think that is a good look for any trade organization. And so
I totally agree.
Problem for me, Aaron Pickus, no, I won't let you buy me a drink because we have some debriefing to do to get you more level set in your mind around what is a pro-business position. And so what he said was, so that this new significant financial incentive isn't a way to use to turn back the clock with medical cards available for everyone, including those under 21, and allow a new toehold from the illicit marketplace. I get the feeling that Aaron doesn't have any legacy experience.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Oh, man, he's high. He's high, you guys. It's a Monday.
No, I thought we already discussed this, man. Taxes are bullshit.
Taxes are bullshit. That's right. That's right. And just because we do discuss
I did really like Jamie's idea of people who could help people kind of thread the loophole of this bureaucracy and all of these forms and things you need to do to qualify for this. It'd be much easier if you just had a state card, but and somebody in the chat was saying, if you get a state card, you lose your right to be a gun owner.
You don't necessarily lose your right. I don't buy that. I don't buy that you lose your right.
That's been challenged in federal court in I think the Ninth Circuit, and I don't think it's constitutionally allowed.
Oh, great.
You have a right to gun ownership in the United States, which obviously felons and different people are not allowed to have guns. There are limitations, but if you're doing something legal, then where's the limit come from? So, yeah. Anyway,
fair enough.
I think it's the Schedule 1.
That is illegal
aspect.
Yeah,
I really have no clue. You can tell by my T-shirt, I'm not an attorney.
Say that again, Jamie.
Coming to you from a state where everybody has their gun in their back window.
That's right, Montana. Yeah, that's God's.
So, but I think that there is something, when we talk about what was said in the chat around gun rights and whether being a medical patient could interfere with that, even if it's been ruled on the Ninth Circuit Court, it doesn't mean that it's changed the way business is being done in all states, that it's become codified law, that it is filtered down, that all of the states are respecting that, and that it's fully played itself out. And so that, I think, is the problem. And I think gun owners have a legitimate concern around that intersection because gun ownership has been in the crosshairs, all pun intended, in many states, and we've seen it in Hawaii, we've seen it in Florida, and we've seen it across the board, and then we've also just seen in places like New Jersey where they even have adult use, where the smell of cannabis is then being used as a reason to search still. And then they're being searched, and then it's all blah, 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 blah. And so I don't think gun owners are paranoid and being concerned that they're not fully protected yet.
I totally agree with that that analysis also, Yarrow. That is true.
And I'm in the Midwest too, Jason, if I can interrupt. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is obviously Missouri and Kansas is definitely a big region for hunting and lots of guns and stuff around here as well too. I grew up with my grandparents having a dairy farm and a BB gun and going bird hunting and all that kind of stuff. So guns is a part of everybody's culture around here. And so, yeah, there's a lot of people that are worried about losing their rights to their guns for getting a medical card here in the state of Missouri.
I didn't realize that you would lose your rights to a BB gun.